Well, Anthony just has a natural talent for working with teenagers. He's just gifted. I mean, I think almost anyone that's ever worked with him would tell you that. He gets kids to open up and tell you things that they just wouldn't tell an adult. And even from the very first meeting with them, I'm always amazed. He'll be sitting there interviewing a teen about what's going on with them, and they just come up with all these things, all these secrets that you would never have thought that they would tell. And he just understands them. He gets them. So I don't know how he does it. He just has a gift.
I came here when I had just turned 17, and I came because I was an alcoholic and smoking pot every day. If I hadn't met Anthony, I would be dead or living a very small, depressed life. You know, now I have a great relationship with my family. You know, I have a lot of friends. I have a very big world and big life.
Anthony has a gift of intuition to tune in to every single person's inner child, to their core issue. He sees out of their anger, he sees their pain. He saved my children's life. He saved my relationship with my children, and he does nothing but heal.
Well, to tell you the truth, we felt like we were losing our son. And by that I mean he had almost completely stopped talking to us. His grades had plummeted to maybe a 1.2 average when he was going to school. My son is not the kind of person who bonds easily, period, but he seemed to bond immediately with Anthony. And I think that's, Anthony's gift, which is that he says it straight and he speaks to the kids. And he has a gift for something because he's gone through it.
So the first time I ever tried drugs of any kind or getting high or whatever, I was about 4 years old. My older brothers were sniffing glue. I would drink alcohol here and there, probably around 10 or so. I mean, just about any drug you name, I did. And then I found heroin. Now I'm maybe 21, 22 years old, something like that. So I had been in and out of prison several times. And what happened was I got out, I got a violation. In other words, they arrested me again. Some guy in LA County Jail tells me, hey, just tell, there's this judge, Sam Chinchetti, out of Pomona Court. He goes, oh wow, that's your judge, okay? This guy, he'll put you in a drug rehab. Just go tell him that you're a drug addict. And I was like, dude, I'm not telling this guy I'm a drug addict. I'm not a drug addict, right? I just love getting high. At any rate, Sam Chinchetti said, okay, so I'm gonna put you in this treatment program in Pasadena called Impact. I think this is very important because it's not the whole piece, but it's one of the big pieces that got me to start changing my thinking. When I was in Chino in prison, I set up this phone call it was a Tuesday at 2:10 in the afternoon. And I had a daughter. Before I went in, this girl that I was living with, she got pregnant, and my daughter, unfortunately, was born addicted to heroin, and as a result, she had a heart defect. And so what happened is Lorinda, that's her mom, she, when Antoinette got well enough, right, I got to see her 4 times. She brought her down to Chino to visit me. And she was she was an angel, right? And I set that phone call up, and Lorinda picks up the phone, and all there was screaming and yelling on the other end. And I couldn't make sense out of any of it. All I could make sense out of is she was saying, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And then some man gets on the phone, and he introduced himself. He was a paramedic. And he says that they were doing some work on my daughter. And about a minute or so, I guess, into that, He said, hold on a second, and he spoke to his partner, and he said, I'm sorry to tell you, but we just pronounced your daughter dead. And so my daughter passed away while I was on the phone, and then I went to my bed and just laid there for hours. Yeah, looking back on things, I think my background probably prepared me to, when I got engaged in this field. I didn't know it at the time. So I went home, finally I turned myself into impact, and it started breaking me down slowly. It started getting me to start facing my fears that I didn't even believe I had. It started getting, by the time I got out of that place, I was just a totally different person. At that point, a friend of mine asked me, hey, there's a place down here in Pasadena at St. Luke Hospital, and they are hiring for what they call techs. So I went down there and interviewed, they hired me, and it was a blast working with teenagers. I mean, I had so much fun, and I kept moving up the ladder, and I became a senior counselor, and then some people asked me if I wanted to leave and start a treatment program and work for them and become the program director. I said, sure. And then Joanne Barron, actually, who's my wife, we started working together. And we lasted there maybe a couple of years. We didn't like how things were doing. We thought we could do a better job. And then I decided I'm going to create this treatment program. And so that's when I first started the very first Insight 25 years ago on Green Street in Pasadena. My dream was coming true. And we were helping all these kids. And we were bringing kids in from all various different types of insurance or whatever, or cash pay, whatever. But HealthNet, what happened was prior to that, they had no problem paying us.
We would get pre-verification, and the insurance companies, particularly HealthNet, would say, yes, we're going to pay, we're going to cover.
Payments stopped coming. There was this quietness, like at the end of 2015. Then finally, I received this, it's an assertion, an audit, a thing to fill out. So I had no problem. I answered it all in one day, FedEx back to them, it's no problem. I'm like, that'll take care of it. Now they'll pay us, right? No, we ended up with over 800 of these. Over 800 in several months. Even though we sent them twice, we sent them our patient files with everything. Then they wanted another one. Then they asked for us to do it again.
I have to say that I called HealthNet numerous times, and I always got a runaround. They would direct me to another department. It was just an exercise in frustration.
So now I'm really tripping out, and but now I'm also borrowing money. I'm using my own money. I used all my personal savings. Currently, I am officially over $700,000 in personal debt. Forget Insight debt, that's been long gone.
And at that point, you're faced with either kicking the kids out of the program that are in the middle of their treatment, or just treating them and still having to pay all the bills.
We never discharged one of them. Why would I do that? I would just be causing them emotional distress and harm, and it's not their fault. I gave up hope several months ago until I talked to Joan. Okay, when I talked to Joan, I was like, oh wow, maybe there's some hope here.
My name is Joan Borston. I am the former owner and CEO of Malibu Beach Recovery Center. When people like Anthony started calling me and saying, hey, HealthNet didn't pay me. I haven't been paid. So I called the deputy insurance commissioner who I'd met before, and I said, what's going on here? Nobody's getting paid. And she said, well, we told them that it's wrong, but we've only got 2 complaints. And we wrote a complaint letter that 122, I believe, facilities signed, including Anthony. And we launched the investigation. Centene acquired HealthNet, thinking that they were a financially helpful partner. And then in the second quarter, when they had to report earnings to their institutional investors, they had to admit that they had put aside $400 million to pay claims that HealthNet had conveniently forgotten to tell them about. As part of the Centene merger, the HealthNet executives were promised massive bonuses for their efforts in getting the deal done. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So I believe a lot in the fact that the insurance commissioner used to be a poverty lawyer. And it's really hard for me to believe that in this situation he was ever going to side with HealthNet.
I've lost everything that I've worked so hard for. It takes my ability to help what I was put in this world to do, to help kids away from me, to be able to do that. Instead, I'm running around trying to figure out ways to get money instead of doing what I do best, sitting with kids in groups and doing the types of groups that I do and reaching out after kids and going to their houses if they need help and so on. I can't even do that right now.
They have a responsibility to follow through with what they say they're going to do. And the fact that they didn't do that puts a whole system in jeopardy.
To think about a place like Insight being shut down for insurance reasons it's really sad. And it's, I know how valuable this place was to me. It's not like there's 100 treatment centers for teenagers in Southern California.
These kids need help. There are more and more. There just is. That's just the way our society is. There are more and more kids that need help for mental health and substance abuse. The Attorney General does nothing about it. Commissioner Jones does nothing about it. It's criminal, and it seems like they're going to get away with it.
I know he does a good job, and I know that he's helped thousands of children. He shouldn't be faced with, missing $1 million in cash flow because HealthNet wanted to be bought by Centene. Attack the organization that I serve as vice president is not going to give up. And if I have to keep calling, which I do week after week, month after month, to the insurance commissioner, if I have to go to the attorney general, if I have to go to the governor, I'll do whatever it takes because it's wrong. HealthNet needs to pay what it owes.